United States foreign policy during the founding years. Introduction. The United States foreign policy has advanced and taken many shapes since the nation gained its independence from the British Empire. Initially, the Founding Fathers believed that the U.S. should not be involved in international affairs, thus encouraging isolation. However, preceding political views and movements established the U.S. as a power destined to facilitate world order and create a thriving democratic environment. Since then, it has engaged in several global issues which have contributed to elevating its position as a superpower. Regardless, the country has faced several setbacks due to some of its approaches to foreign policy. The following essay provides an overview of the U.S. foreign policy, USFP, during the founding years of the Republic, critical aspects of these policies, and the factors that weaken their implementation. United States approach to foreign policy during the early years. After the American Revolution, the USFP generally focused on regional issues, encouraging it to adopt an isolationist approach to foreign policy. George Washington warned American citizens to avoid any forms of foreign entanglements as European nations had complex interests. As a result, he reasoned that engaging with these nations would drag the U.S. into unnecessary conflicts and collisions. Nevertheless, the U.S. sustained its commercial ties with European nations and France despite the ongoing conflicts between Great Britain and the United States saw an opportunity to trade with all nations as it would be in their best economic interest. Thus, they aimed to live in peace with all other countries and trade in any market. In 1973, Washington and cabinet members drafted the Rules of Neutrality, which reinforced their initiatives towards staying neutral in the wars by disarming naval ships and permitting the passage of commercial vessels not intended for warfare. These regulations were later codified into law, allowing them to govern the USFP during this period until the Civil War era. Aspects of the USFP that helped position the U.S. during the period. The religious aspects of the USFP during the early years of the Republic had a significant impact on its positioning as it allowed the U.S. to establish itself as the chosen nation. Many scholars and religious leaders argued that the U.S. was destined to become a leader and lead others on the path toward peace and democracy. As a result, the notion that the work of God would begin in the U.S. as mentioned in the Bible shaped U.S. approaches to international affairs and spearheaded the belief that they were responsible for creating a world order. The United States' decision to remain neutral in the war that ravaged European countries was also critical to its development as it allowed the nation to keep its citizens safe and focus on advancements. War is a costly affair that can drain nations of their resources. Therefore, by avoiding engagement in conflicts, the U.S. was able to channel its resources to strengthen its military capabilities and economic stability. In the long term, the approach was beneficial as it helped establish a more peaceful and democratic nation. The isolationist ideology also played a critical role in positioning the U.S. as it ensured that no nation interfered with its affairs. Isolationists advocated for non-entanglement and non-involvement in Asian and European conflicts and world politics. However, the U.S. chose to protect its interests in Latin America, which was beneficial due to access to resources. Isolation allowed the country to avoid becoming a colony of European nations, thus allowing it to establish sovereignty and govern its initiatives for positive development. Factors that weakened the USFP during the early Republic. One of the main issues that limited the U.S. foreign policy after the nation gained independence was sectional differences. The northern and southern states had conflicting interests which resulted in heated arguments and disagreements. As a result, unifying the states was a difficult task as no party was willing to forego their demands. Subsequently, these issues interfered with the USFP as both regions struggled to protect their interests. Similarly, America's post-war truce with France and Great Britain alleviated potential issues as the U.S. was forced to gradually negotiate the withdrawal of British troops and repay France's loans and expenses incurred for support during the war. As a result, the United States had a strained relationship with both nations. Conclusion. The United States' approach to foreign policy was intended to strengthen the nation and allow it to establish ground as a sovereign country. For that reason, the Founding Fathers and political elite during the early years of the Republic spearheaded isolation and refraining from global politics as the ultimate solution to ensure development. As a result, the U.S. took a neutral position in the conflicts but was forced to deal with its reparations due to engaging economically with European and Asian nations. Despite striving to unify and interact with other powers as one, the sectionalism in the U.S. caused division, which limited their advancement. Nevertheless, the United States was able to sustain peaceful and democratic states until the beginning of the Civil War.